Today I'm going to be taking you from a beginner level to an advanced level Trello user. Trello is one of the most easy to use project management systems, and it has a very low learning curve. In just a few minutes, you can be up and running with your new task and project management system. I'm going to be teaching you easy to implement automations to streamline your workflow and decrease stress. In this video, I'll be showing you what Trello is and how to set it up in the ultimate Trello tutorial. Before we get started, just one quick note. In this video, I'm only going to be going over features included in the free Trello plan. There are a few advanced features that you can unlock by paying, but for this video, I'm going to be only teaching you what's available on the free plan. So let's flip it over to the computer screen and get started. To sign up, you're going to go to Trello.com and then click on Get Trello for free. From there, you'll fill out some basic information needed and it will take you right into the software. Now you can view your workspace as one area where all of your boards will go. I'll use this graphic to help visualize how Trello works. Here's the workspace, and this is where all of your Trello boards are going to be once you've created the boards. When I open up Trello, this is where I and my entire team can look at everything at a glance. You'll be able to see all of the boards and projects that you're working on, and you can click on the pencil icon at the top to edit the name of the workspace. You can add other people or team members to the workspace by clicking Invite Workplace Members. From there, you can either enter their email address in or invite someone to the workplace with a link by clicking Create Link. If you want to switch between workplaces, you can click on the icon in the top left corner. There is only one displayed here, but as you add more, they will show up and you can easily hop between workspaces effortlessly. So within workspaces, there are boards, and boards can be different projects in different parts of your business or different systems within your business. I'll bring the graphic back up and you can see boards are located within the workplace. If you go to the workplace, you can click on Create Your First Board. From there, it will give you a menu of options to customize your board. You can pick the background to be a solid color or a really inspiring picture. And if you click on the three dots, you can see more photos and more colors. From there, you're going to give the board a title. Typically, you want to think of boards as projects. So if you have a long-term project like building an online course, or a short-term project, or even an ongoing project like a YouTube channel or Instagram account, those can be different boards as well. With the boards, you can put a section of your business or a system in there. For example, you could create content creation board or a content marketing board, or you could put a sales board where you can track all of your sales and leads. You have a lot of different options here, and it might require you to do some thinking about how your work and business and life are broken up. For this video, let's just do a content planning board. The board visibility is workplace, which means anyone with access to this workplace can see the board. This is great for collaborating with teams. But let's say you want to keep the board private. You can click on the drop down, and then from there you have a few different options. With the private setting, only members of that board can see the board. With the workplace setting, it means anyone in the workplace has access to this board. Or you can make it public so anyone can interact and view it. I'm just going to go ahead and click and set the board to private so the information is viewable to me only. From there, you can click Create, and Trello will go ahead and create your board. Trello is going to take you right into the board, and you start out with 3 different lists. You can see the names at the top: to do, doing, and done. So you might ask, what is a list? A list is basically what goes within a board or within a project. You can drag and drop them to change the order if you want as well. Now, lists are parts of your board that are categories. So lists go within boards. Most of the time, these lists just represent different portions of the project or parts of a workflow. With lists, you can change the name. So for this content board, we can start off with a list called Ideas, and then you can make a list for researching, and then a list for filming or recording, a list for editing, a list for ready to upload, and then a list of complete to put projects in once they're completely done. So this is my entire workflow of content creation. I'm going to start off by coming up with an idea, researching that idea, filming or recording it, whether it's video or a podcast. Then I'm going to edit it. We'll have it prepped for upload. And then once it's uploaded, we'll drag it into the complete section. Now, to keep track of the videos or pieces of content you're publishing, you're going to need to add cards. Right under each list name is a button that says add a card. So click on that. So you might ask, what is a card? And cards are within lists. And these can be moved in between lists, but they represent a task or a group of tasks. In this case, it's a piece of content that I want to create. Cards are within lists and they can actually be moved between lists by just clicking and then dragging and dropping. So let's come up with some ideas of some of the content that I want to produce. Let's put content calendar tutorial video, 5 systems every business owner needs to scale, 3 systems to keep your business productive, best ways to beat information overload, and we'll just finish up with that. Anytime I have a video idea or a content idea, I'm going to go ahead and add a card in the ideas list. Now I have a card that can be dragged across the process. So the card will start out in the ideas list, and then I'll be able to drag it to the researching list, and then to the filming list, and then all the way to complete as it works down the process. This is a great visual representation of all your work all in one place. And in a matter of seconds, you can see where all of your work is currently at. So the Kanban method is typically how you're going to set up your boards. And the goal is to start on the left and move the card to the right. And you're not limited to only using the board this way, but Trello is most effective using the Kanban method in my experience. So here are some examples of board ideas. You could have a personal productivity board with ideas, to do, in progress, waiting on, complete, and a maybe someday. I also show you how to build this out in my free productivity starter kit. The link's in the bio. If you want to build out a board just like that, I walk you step through step. Now, the other example is a sales board or lead generation board. And you could have a monthly goal, lead sourcing, target audience, warm leads, hot leads, scheduled calls, and follow-up. The third example is a content creation board where you could have ideas, templates, to do this month, researching, in progress, ready to publish, and also micro content ideas. Fourth is marketing. So basically you can make a hub for all the parts of your marketing within your business. So a marketing calendar, email marketing, joint ventures with other companies, affiliate marketing, brand deals, events, website updates, such as landing pages or sales pages, webinars, and you can just customize the list to whatever's relevant to your business. The fifth example is a goals board. You could have 5-year goals, yearly goals, quarterly goals, monthly goals, and weekly goals. And you could even add a mini vision board for extra motivation. The sixth example is weekly planner or a to-do list where you can kind of blend the two, like have a whole weekly outline and have your to list and kind of blend them together. And at the end of this video, I'll go over exactly how to set this up. So let's talk about navigating your Trello board. And the great part about Trello is that the navigation is very intuitive and there are a ton of different shortcuts that come into handy when navigating the software. On the left, there is a side panel that you can open and close based off what type of view you're looking for. This menu is great for navigating quickly between multiple boards within your workplace. This can easily access the settings. You can add new members quickly as well. Also, you can navigate workplace views. So let's go ahead and hide this menu just for the video. And another place you can change your workplace views is right here where it says board. You can click on that and then it'll give you a drop-down menu. Now this feature is really nice because you can click on any one of these and visualize your work differently. Now this requires a Trello Premium account, which is a paid account, but there is a free 14-day trial. So by clicking on that, you will get access to these views. And that's something that we're gonna go over later in this video. At the top, you can change the name of the board by clicking here. You can also make this board a favorite by clicking on the star. Now what that does is it makes the board appear in this dropdown. So click on Starred, and then you should be able to see the board that you just added pop up. What you want to do with this feature is star the boards that you use the most, and then you'll be able to quickly access them with this dropdown. And the main benefit of that is you might have different boards located in different workplaces. So instead of exiting out of the workplace and going back into the board, you can quickly hop between boards that are in different workplaces. So you can think of it as a shortcut. There is also a drop down for templates. Trello has a ton of great templates to give you a jump start on creating new boards. I highly recommend you exploring these at some point in time. We're not really going to go over them in this video, but just know if you need to create a board quick and you are interested in presets and templates, you can click and explore those. Now, all the way on the right, you can click Show Menu, and you can change your board background to colors or a picture. There are more features on the side panel as well, but the one great thing you can see below is activity. If you're working with a team, it's a real-time feed of what's taking place, but if you're just working on Trello alone, it will record all of your last actions. This side menu is also where you're going to be able to access your automations and power-ups, which are more advanced features that we'll go over a little bit later in this video. And I have tons of other videos on power-ups and automations on my channel as well. So if you're interested in really deep diving into those beyond what this video offers, you can look into those videos as well. The last item on the sidebar is hidden features. To access those, click on More. And you can see settings, labels, and if you have premium, you can use collections, which is a different way to organize your boards based off topic. You can also view archived items, as well as if you ever have to go back and revisit old projects or tasks, everything is stored in your archive. So that's where all of your old boards and lists and cards are going to be retired. By clicking on the three dots on the left of the list, all the way at the bottom, you can click Archive, and it will be moved into your archive. A lot of people think it's deleted, but it's really not. It's just archived away. It's important to keep your boards clean and uncluttered. So if I go ahead and archive this list, I can go and view it again by clicking on the Archive button. If you ever want to go and connect your email to Trello, you can click on Email to Board Settings. And then from there, you can click on Link to Board. Basically what that does, it allows you to send it to any team member of the board or anyone who has access to that board. If you ever want to copy your board, you can just click on Copy Board and it will make an exact copy of everything within the board. You can also print or export the board as well. If it ever comes to the point where you're not using the board anymore, you can also click on Close Board and then it will essentially be archived. Again, you can go back and reopen it and re-access all the information at a further time if you choose to do so. A quick refresher, if you want to add members to a board, then you can click on the left panel and then hit the plus icon. And then you get a pop-up. From there, you just enter the email address in for whoever you want to have access to the board. Now let's go ahead and start filling out this board with cards. And we can get into how to use cards and all of the options that come along with them. Basically, cards are items that are within lists. Let's go ahead and add a few more cards of video ideas. I'll add 5 must-know websites for entrepreneurs, the best AI tools for productivity, and now we have a few ideas of pieces of content in the ideas list. Now let's see all of the options for customizing each card. If you click on the card, it opens up a menu with a ton of different options. Up top, you have the name of the card, which you can click on it and you can change it if needed. On the right, there are options to add features to this card. The first is members. You can go ahead and add members directly to this card. If you have a team and you want to delegate these tasks to a team member or team members, you can click on members and then you can type the member's name in and it's now assigned to them. Once they're added, you can see their profile picture shows up right in the middle underneath the card name. If you want to quickly add more team members, click on the plus sign and enter the team member's name in. This is a quick and easy way to add more team members to the card. The next feature is labels, and this one is one of my favorite parts of Trello. And I have an entire video on labels and I'll link it in the description below. And the reason I have a video dedicated solely to this is there are a ton of different methods on how to use them based on your workflow. It's completely adaptable. But today we're just going to go over the basics. Labels are ways to tag or differentiate different tasks visually. So for red, let's name it YouTube video. And then for blue, let's name it Instagram video. That way, when we add new ideas to the ideas list, we can tag them so they're easily identifiable. Once you're done naming the labels, hit save. As you can see, the red label is named YouTube video and the blue label is named Instagram video. From there, click on the label you want to apply to the card. Now I'm going to exit out of the card and you can see the label is attached to the card. Let's go ahead and tag all of the cards with labels. When you use a ton of labels, it can be hard to remember everything, so you can click directly on the label and then the name of the label will be displayed. This way, you can easily reference how the task is tagged. The great part about tagging is that you can use the filter function with tags. If you go to the top right of the board and click on filter, the dropdown will display all of the filter options. Let's click on a label, and as you can see, all of the other cards disappeared with the exception of the label that I checked. The next feature on the list is checklists, and this is by far one of the most useful features in Trello. This especially comes into handy with big multi-step projects or anything that is multi-step. To add a checklist, we're going to click on the card and then we're going to click on the checklist button, and a pop-up menu will ask you for the title of the checklist. Now you can go ahead and just leave it as is, or if you want to add multiple checklists, you can rename it. Since we're creating videos, we might have a video production checklist, and now that checklist has been added. Now you can go ahead and add items to your checklist. So let's add research, script, film B-roll, film A-roll, call to action, title, thumbnail, since it's a YouTube video. So basically what you're going to want to do is add all the tasks that relate to that checklist or project. Then we might add another checklist in terms of writing out a script. So you could put hook, intro, and now let's say we have tips during the video. So you could add content tip number 1, content tip 2, content tip 3. Typically in my videos, I ask a question of the day. And at the end, we want somebody to do something, so we have a call to action. Basically, we want to tell the viewer what to do next. So you can see through the checklist, these are the tasks we need to do in order to create a video. Now what you're going to do is you're going to apply that to your workflow and your tasks in your projects. The nice part about checklists is that you can go and check individual items off, and it will cross items out as you go. You can see also the progress bar moves forward as you check more items off. As items are checked off, if you want to keep the list clutter-free, you can click on Hide Checked Items, and the ones that you checked off have now been hidden. That way you only see what's left to do. To show them again, you click on Show Checked Items, and everything will reappear. With a Trello Premium account, you can set up specific tasks for specific people, along with due dates per task. The little clock icon can set the due date, and the little person icon can assign it to a member. Again, that's only with the premium service, which is another feature that Trello offers. You can also convert the task to a card. If you want to expand one of the tasks, click Convert to Card, and it will turn that task into its own card. Since that's not needed, I'm going to go ahead and archive that card. You can go back to the side menu and click More. From there, you can select the archive, and then you can see the card that I just archived. If you ever want to send it back to the board, click Send to Board, and it will send it directly back. You can also delete the card forever by clicking Delete. Let's click back into the card and check everything off. Once all items are checked off the card, it will turn green. And if you exit out of the card back to the board view, you can see a portion of the card has turned green to show all the tasks within it are complete. If you go back to the card, you can always uncheck the list, and then it goes back to the gray version of the card. The next feature Trello has is dates, and this is when you can set a due date for a card. This is an amazing feature that will work well when it comes to setting a time limit on your work. To add a due date, select Dates, and a calendar will pop up with a ton of different dates to choose from. So now you can add a start date and a due date to a specific card. For this card, let's say we want to go in and set a due date. So you can do this in two different ways. You can click on the calendar and you can see it will change the date in the box. Or you can go right into the box and type in the date you want. You can also set a start date, which if you click the checkbox, it will enable start date. And then you can see the dates on the calendar are highlighted. Now you can also set a due date reminder. You can click on the drop down and pick from the following options. Now what that will do is send anyone who is a member of the card a reminder ahead of time on what you select in the drop down. So anyone with their icon in the members section right here will get notified ahead of time. Again, you can select anything from the drop down. Once everything is set the way you want it, click save, and you can see a due date has been added to your card. You can also check the due date off just like a checklist, and it turns green when it's completed. If you exit out of the card view, you can see the due date is added to the front of the card in the board as well. As time gets closer to the due date, it will turn yellow, and then if the due date is overdue, it will turn red. So there are color indicators, kind of like a stoplight system for due dates. The next feature within a card is attachments, and this is where you can add and link external files to your card or project. We'll click back into the card, and on the side, you can see attachments. Go ahead and click that. It will present you with a few different options. Trello can access files from a few different sources. One, it can grab it from your computer. So if you have a picture, a Word document, an Excel sheet, click on the computer, and then from there, it will open up a browser and allow you to select a file. Trello can also pull files from all of your cloud-based services like Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, and OneDrive. Now, if you click on computer, it will open up a browser, and if you add the image, it will automatically add that image as the cover photo. If you go out of the board, you can see the image is now on the cover of the card. The way attachments work is they allow you to view it as a cover. If you go back to the board view, you can see the image is displayed. Now, if you want to make it an attachment, but you don't want to see it as the cover, you can go back into the card by clicking on it and then click on remove cover. Now you can see there is still an attachment. That's what that little paper clip icon signifies, but there's no image. Now click back into the card and you can access the image. The file is still there, it's just not the cover image of the card. If you want to delete the attachment altogether, click on the card, find the attachment you want, and then select delete. It will remove that attachment from the card altogether. Now you can use the attach a link and directly add a link to a website or a YouTube video directly into the card. In this case, just copy the web address and paste it right into the box. Then click attach. This comes into handy when you're collaborating with a team. If you look to the right of attachment, you can select comment. This allows anyone on the team or you to leave a comment or details that you're looking to communicate with the rest of the team. Let's leave a quick comment. We could type, hey, this picture looks great. This should be a good post for social media. And then hit save. And you can see the message is saved directly into the card. The next feature within cards is the chat feature. And the chat feature is mainly used with working with teams within Trello. This is within the activity section. Now, you or any of your team have the ability to leave comments within the card. You can type your comment in, and you can also click on the bottom if you want to leave a reaction. If you want to go back and edit a comment you just left, click on edit, and it allows you to go back and make any changes that are needed. Another thing to note is that if you edit this and any new comments added, there will be a timestamp to show when the last comment was edited or when something was last posted. And if you click delete, you can also delete a comment as well. Now you can also go and tag certain people no differently than a social media post. From there, you can leave a message and you could say, hey, @Carl, this needs attention. This needs to get done ASAP. And then hit enter or click save, and this message will be posted and a notification will be sent directly to Carl or whoever is tagged in the message. Each card has an action section which allows you to move, copy, and do a handful of other options. Now, if you're ready to move the card to another list on the board, you can click on move and a menu will come up. You can click on moving it from ideas to research. If you want to click on that, you can see the card being moved into research. I typically don't use this function all that often. I find it a lot easier to just drag and drop into the list that I want it to be in. So just click on any card and then move it and drop it into the list that you want. The next feature under Actions is Copy. If you want to copy this card and everything within it, you can click Copy and it will bring up a menu. It allows you to edit the title and decide if you want to keep any of the checklists, labels, and members. You can check and uncheck any of those items depending on what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. There are options to copy it onto this board or another board. You can also copy it to a certain list, and then you can also decide on what position you want it to be within the list. So if you select 1, it will show up at the top of the list, and if you select a lower number, it will show up at the bottom of the list. Once everything is set the way you want it, click Create Card, and now you can see the card has been copied, and now it is in the Ideas list. The next feature on the Actions section of the card is Templates. If you use a card a lot, or if you find yourself making the same checklists over and over, this is a great way to save time and streamline your entire workflow. Before I show you how to use this feature, I typically add a templates list to my board and put it all the way on the right so it's out of the way of all of the other lists. Create a new list and call it Templates. Now this is where all of your template cards are going to be stored. That way, when you need to use a template card, they're all organized in one spot for easy access. So let's go ahead and create a new template card. For this board, I'm making YouTube videos and different types of content, so let's add a card specific to creating new YouTube videos. Let's add the card YouTube Video Card. And every time I make a new YouTube video card, it needs to have a few things completed. So we'll add a checklist and add those items that need to be completed. One would be research. 2, we could add outline, like as in outlining the video. 3, script. 4, film. 5, edit. 6, we could add a thumbnail because we'll need a thumbnail for the YouTube video. And then finally, we'll publish it when we want it published. So we'll have to complete each task in order for this video to be complete. From there, you can go to the Actions section and click on Make Template. And as you can see, when you go to the board view, this card is now a template, and the tag says this card is a template. Now, how do we use it? Let's say you want to make a new YouTube video, and you're going to click into the card at the top, and you'll see Create Card from Template. Click on that, and then you'll get a menu. Similar to copying the card in terms of the options, select what setting you want and then click Create Card. And as you can see, there is a brand new YouTube card that has been created from the template. The last feature we have here is Share, and this allows you to share a card externally or within Trello. So click on Share and we'll bring up a menu. From there, you can share via a link that you can just copy and paste, or you can embed the card with the code below. This can be useful if you use any type of communication outside of Trello. So you can send people the link and it will take them directly into Trello and into the card. One of the best features of Trello is power-ups, and power-ups essentially give a productivity boost to boards, lists, and cards. These are extremely helpful when scaling your productivity. So let's go and check out some of these power-ups and what Trello has to offer. To access power-ups, click on the Power Up button on the top right corner. Or you can click into a card and click on the button Add Power-ups on the right-hand column. So let's go back to the board view and click Power-ups. That's going to apply the power-up to the entire board. When the menu pops up, click Add Power-ups, and that will take you to the Power-ups Marketplace. One thing to note before you get started is some of the power-ups are free and some of them are paid. Also, some of them are made by Trello and then some of them are also made by third parties. So just a few things to be aware of as you go through this marketplace. To navigate the marketplace, you can use the navigation menu on the left-hand corner. Basically, you can browse any category of power-ups you're looking for, or you can use the search bar as well. Now, there are tons of different power-ups that unlock a ton of different features for Trello, and there's new ones being added each week. But if I click on the ones made by Trello, there are a few different options. like the calendar power-up that gives you a nice visualization of all your cards in a calendar view. So as you set due dates on your card, they'll pop up on the calendar. There's also dash cards, which is another great power-up. It will count how many cards that are in a list. So as you're coming up with new ideas or cards, at the end, it will automatically count all them. Card snooze is another great power-up, and once you activate it and you can designate it to a card, it will snooze all notifications on that card. As you go down the list, you can see a ton of different integrations to other outside apps like Google Drive and Evernote. You'll be able to directly integrate both apps to access files and documents, and this really makes Trello a seamless experience between multiple apps. If you use other apps outside of Trello, use the search bar to look them up. I know new apps and integrations are getting added each week. The database is always growing. The biggest advantage of power-ups is that you can really handpick what works best for your unique workflow or your company. Everyone operates differently and has different processes and uses a lot of different apps, and Trello allows you to completely customize that experience. Now let's run through an example of this. Let's add a calendar power-up. And if you go to the calendar power-up and click Add, and then click Edit Power-Up Settings, and then you can set up your settings. Once that is set, you can close out of the marketplace, and then it'll take you back to the board. From there, you can click on Calendar and see your board displayed here. Now, I have a ton of different videos on my YouTube channel about specific power-ups. Some of them are plug and play, and some of them are a little bit more complex and require quick tutorials or strategy on implementation. That's something that can be found in the other videos, so if you search my YouTube channel for Trello power-ups and explore some of those videos, they might come in handy as well. The next feature within Trello is really one of the main ways to unlock its full power. The automations that Trello has can really save a ton of time and can be a game changer when it comes to projects and tasks that require a ton of steps. The more automations you can add into your boards, lists, and cards, the more time you can save. And this feature is really invaluable, so let's deep dive into Trello automations. Now that we're back in the board view, you're gonna click on Automation. And it's in the top right-hand corner, and it'll bring a small menu up that has Rules, Buttons, and Email Reports. Rules can automatically respond to actions, schedules, or a card's due date. Buttons can create custom buttons on the back of every card or on the top of the board. Email Reports set up email reports such as weekly summaries of all the cards that are due within 7 days. Let's give an example of a workflow. Let's say when I get an idea that's moved into the research list, I don't want to have to go into the card and make a checklist or assign that card to someone every single time. These processes can be automated, and how you do it is through automations by selecting rules. On the top right, you can select automations, and then we can select create rule. The next menu is where you can create and customize rules. As you can see, there's some presets below for what happens when a card is moved. You can also add card changes. So if you change the label or add an attachment, or when something specific is added to the card, like a checklist or member, you can have an action occur when the date is selected. You can also have an action happen when a checklist is complete or a card gets a new comment. You can also automate cards based off fields. So if you have a card that has a label that says YouTube video and you drop it into this list, it will generate a YouTube video production checklist, which could be different from a blog production checklist. And that's just one example. As you can see, no matter what you do or how you do it, you can create almost any type of automation you want. But let's just start off with the basics. So let's go back to card move, because it's the simplest version of all the automations. When a card moves from ideas to research, I want it to generate a checklist of all the things we need to research. In order to do that, we have to create two things. One, a trigger, and two, the action. The trigger would be when the card is moved, and the action is to create the checklist. In Trello, you have to create the trigger first, and you can see at the top it says it doesn't have a trigger yet. Select a trigger from below. So that has to be done first. Let's go ahead and create a trigger. What we're looking to do is when a card is moved from ideas to research, we want it to generate a checklist within the card. What you're looking for is when a card is added to the list, so research. Click the drop down and select research. Not by me, let's make it by everyone. Then select the plus symbol. Now you can see at the top of the screen that the trigger has been created. Basically, what that means is when the card is added to research by anyone, the following actions are going to happen. Now, secondly, let's go and add those actions. And we're shown a few different options under the Select an Action button. We want to add a checklist, so click on Checklists. Again, we're presented with a ton of different options in terms of how we add different checklists. Now, we want to add a checklist from a specific card that we've already created. So if you remember earlier in the video, we created a card called YouTube Video Production Checklist, and it was on the Video Production card. Let's use that as a checklist as the one we want to replicate when the card is moved. Basically, when a card is moved from ideas to research, we want the YouTube video checklist to automatically be added to the card that was just moved. And I'll add a graphic to visualize this to make sure it's easy to understand. Now, what this does is it streamlines the workflow and it saves you time because you don't have to type this checklist over and over again. So select Add the Checklist Name, and remember, we want it to be the YouTube Video Production Checklist from the Video Production card. It's very important that you get those names correct from whatever card and list that you've made. Once everything is set, you can select Add to the card. Double check to make sure that everything is set right. So if a card is moved from ideas to research, it will add the YouTube production checklist from the video card to the card that was just moved. Everything checks out, and then you hit save in the top right of the screen. Once that's done, it will explain the automations in text in terms of how that rule is going to work. So let's see how this works. Now, this card has no checklist in it, as we can see. We're going to move this card from the ideas list to the research list. We're going to wait a second for the automation to work, and now you can see the checklist has been created within the card. And if you click on the card, you can see everything has been copied directly into the card, and this is a great example of some simple automation that can save you a ton of time. I'll do an entire video on common automations and link it in the description in the video. As you can see, with automations, they can be very simple to very complex depending on what you're looking to create. In this section of the video, I want to talk about using automations with buttons. The buttons I'm referencing are buttons within a card. These automations can be triggered by the click of a button. If you click on a card, you can see these buttons on the right-hand side. Basically, what this does is it allows you to create a clickable button that will trigger one or many actions automatically. Basically, we'll assign a few actions to the button, so once it's clicked, all of those actions will happen automatically with automations, and this is going to save you a ton of time. So let's go ahead and set up a button. Go back to the board view and click on Automations. From the dropdown, click on Buttons. If you read this page, it will tell you a little bit more about buttons and explanations in terms of what they are. But if you need further explanation, then I would suggest reading this over. But if you want to just create a button, click on Create Button in the upper right-hand corner. Let's create a button that moves a card and adds a member and adds a label, right? So it's going to do three things. On the menu, you can start customizing the button by selecting an icon from the dropdown. You have a ton of different icons to pick from, so let's just pick the lightning bolt. Next, you're going to name the button, and you can name it anything you want. Let's name it Video in Progress, so when I hit this button, I know the video is one of the ideas I decided to move forward with. As for options, just leave Enabled by Default checked. For beginners, this is something that you don't have to change, and now we're going to go and add the actions. So click on Add Action. Again, we want the button to automate or do three things here. 1, move the card to research. 2, add a label to the card. And 3, add a member to the card. Let's start with automating moving the card. Click on Move, and then you can see Move the card to the top of the list. And that's what we're going to select, List Name. This will move the card to the research list and then hit the plus sign to add the automation. Secondly, now we want to add a label, so click Add-Remove and go down to the second option where it says Add the green label to the card. And you can also go on the green label and change the color. Let's change it to red, and then we'll hit the plus button. And the last thing we want to automate is adding a member. So click on Members, and then the third option down says Add Member at Username to the card. You're going to click on the username box and select who you want, or you can manually type it in. Once this is set, we're going to click the plus button. From there, once you've looked everything over and it's what you want, click Save in the top right-hand corner, and then the button has been created. Now let's go and test the button out. Let's go to the card and in the ideas list, and you can see the button we created is now showing in the right-hand column. It has the icon and the title I gave it. Now, if you click on this button, it should trigger the 3 actions that we wanted it to automate. It should move it to research, it should add a label, and it should add a team member. As you can see, the card doesn't have anything in it. Let's click the button and watch the magic happen. Now you can see the card has been moved from ideas to research, a label has been added, and a member has been assigned. All 3 actions were programmed to the button to happen automatically. And here's another thing to notice as well. A checklist was added because remember the first automation we programmed before, if a card gets moved into the research list, it will automatically get a checklist. So just note that you can mix and match automations. Now that you know how to create a button, you can literally add any automation you want to any card. One thing to note is that if you have the free version of Trello, you only have so many automation credits. So be conscious of that as you add automations. The next feature I want to talk about is filtering, and this feature is going to help you navigate your board even better. It's going to help you find specific cards that you're looking for. As your Trello board gets populated with tons of cards and tons of lists, things can become hard to find, and the filter button can help you find exactly what you want quickly. In the board view, you can see the filter button in the top right corner. And if you hit F on your keyboard, that's the shortcut to enable this function. So let's click on filter in the top right corner, and you can filter all cards on this board in a few different ways. First, you can filter by keyword. So if you type a keyword in, it will filter all of the cards with that keyword and display those. If I type in the word productivity into the keyword search, all of the cards with keyword will be displayed. You can also filter by member. So if you click on one of these boxes, all the cards that are assigned to that team member are displayed. And you can also filter by due date and filter by label as well. So let's say you want to only display red label cards. You can check the box next to the red label and only the red cards will be displayed. Now that you know the basics of Trello, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to use Trello in your business with the features you just learned. I'm going to show you a few ideas like planning your month and week, goal planning board, and a project management board to help with those big projects. Let's go ahead and start with a goal board. And the goal board is where you plan all of your goals for the year. Let's go back to the workplace and create a new board. Let's name this board Goals. You want to start out with a few different lists. The first list we want to add is year goals, and we can also add the year itself. So for this year, it's 2023. Then we're going to break the year into quarters. So we'll make a few more lists. So Q1 goals, Q2 goals, Q3 goals, Q4 goals, and then we'll make a list called complete. From there, I'm also going to add a maybe someday list at the very end. And I'll get to exactly what that maybe someday list is later on in this section. Just add it in for now. Now we're going to come up with goals for this year, and we're going to put those goals in the year goals list. Let's come up with a few goals to start off with. You could put sell 20 courses, make $80,000 in revenue, get 10,000 YouTube subscribers, in which are all outcome-based goals. And then you could set some process-based goals like read 12 books, launch a new online course, post 60 YouTube videos, and get a new certification. Those are 7 really solid goals for the year. Now we have to break them down into quarterly goals by reverse engineering the main goal. One thing I like to add before all of my goals is a target emoji. It just helps me signify that this is a main goal, and it gives the board a little pop. Let's start with the process-based goals for the year. And the first one we're going to talk about is post 60 YouTube videos. So you could divide 60 by 4 because there's 4 quarters in the year, and that's 15 videos per quarter. So in each quarter, you're gonna post 15 YouTube videos into a card. I like to add a checklist as well. I just like to put one check in there and then put the check as done. So that way, once it's complete, I hit one check and the card turns green. Once this is made, then we can go in and make a copy of the card and then drag it into quarter 2, drag it again into quarter 3, and then make another copy and drag it into quarter 4. Our next goal is to read 12 books. So you would have to read 1 book per month for the entire year. So basically 4 books per quarter. We'll make a card that says read 4 books, and then we'll also add that checklist. From there, we're going to go about the same process as we did for the other goals. Copy, drag, copy, drag, copy, and drag. We'll just copy 3 more of those, and then we'll drag those into the respective quarters. So now you can see that I need to read 4 books per quarter on each list. Now we're going to go over the same process for 80K in revenue. So 80,000 divided by 4 is 20,000. So I have to make 20,000 per quarter to hit this goal on average. This is a great way to break it up because you might have a bad month where you don't make as much, but you have the rest of the quarter to make up that goal. For the card, you want to put revenue 20K and then add a checklist. From there, you would copy it and then drag it into quarter 2, copy it again, drag it into quarter 3, copy it again, and drag it into quarter 4. Next, we have the goal of 10,000 YouTube subscribers. And we're going to repeat the same process as we did before. 10,000 subscribers divided by 4 quarters is 2,500 subscribers per quarter. And let's create a card that says gain 2.5K YouTube subscribers. Once that's created, we'll go ahead and add a checklist. And then again, we'll copy, drag, and then again with quarter 4, copy and drag it over. Once these things are complete, you're going to want to check the box and the card turns green. And then once it's green, you're going to drag it over to the complete list. That way you can visualize your progress, and at the end of the year when you do your yearly review, you can easily see what you accomplished and what you didn't. Now, let's talk about the maybe someday list. And this is the list of things that you want to do, but you either don't have the time or bandwidth, or it doesn't relate to your current goals. It can also be something that you're not able to do within the next year, maybe something you want to do a year or 2 years down the line. Let's say you're looking at the year and it seems that you have a lot going on and you have a lot of goals set. In this case, you might not have the time or bandwidth to study for a new certification, which is on the list for this year. In this case, you would take the card, get a new certification, and you would drag it over to the maybe someday list. This is going to keep this goal from getting in the way of all of our other goals that we've set. It's still on the list, it's just not relevant for this year. And the great part about this list is once the year is up and you're looking to set goals for the next year, you have a great list of ideas to start with. This list can also help prevent you from shiny object syndrome, meaning if halfway through the year you have some new goals but they don't correlate to your current goals, you can easily put them into the maybe someday list. I can't emphasize how valuable this list is for any goal setting process. Some of the goals on this list are more project based and they're not as easy as dividing money or dividing followers. So let's take a look at the goal, launch a new online course. For this, again, you're going to have to reverse engineer it, but instead of numbers, we're going to talk projects. Some of the projects that are involved in this goal could be doing market research. So I'll type market research and then quotations, online course. That way I know what main goal that market research correlates to. Then I'm going to have to create the course. So I'll have to do some type of pre-launch marketing to market that course. So I'll type pre-launch marketing and that will be one card. And then I'm going to launch the course. So I'll type launch online course. And then from there, I need to get some sales. So let's put that into quarters. For quarter 1, I'll do market research and create course. For quarter 2, I'll put pre-launch marketing and launch online course. And for quarter 3, I need sales. So we have to sell 20 courses for the year, but we only have 2 quarters to do it. So let's cut 20 in half. The goal here would be to sell 10 online courses, and then I can do the same thing. I can copy it into quarter 4 as well. As you can see, this goal is more project-based, And anytime you have one of these goals, you have to think in terms of projects or milestones and then reverse engineer that into quarterly goals. Once these are set, it's a lot easier to plan your months and weeks out. And that leads me to the next section of this video, which is a monthly and weekly planning board. So let's create a new board and start building this out from scratch. The next board we're going to create is a month and weekly planner. Now that we have goals established, we need somewhere to organize all the actions we're going to take to achieve those goals. This is where a monthly and weekly planner board comes in. And the whole goal of this board is 1, to be able to see everything you have to do for the month at a glance. 2, to be able to see everything you need to do this week at a glance. And 3, be able to organize everything you need for the month into the weeks. Ultimately, this allows you to optimize your week and give you the flexibility to move things around if needed. Let's go ahead and build this board out. Let's add a new board, and this board I'm going to call my weekly planner. So click on the title and type weekly planner. And I'll add in a calendar emoji just to give this one a little pop. Let's start by creating a few different lists. The first list we're going to create is month to do. That's where all the things we're going to do this month go into initially. Then we're going to create a list called waiting on, and that's for the things that we're waiting on. Then you're going to go ahead and put each day of the week as a title of the list. Here's how we plan out the week. So the first list will be Monday. The second list will be Tuesday. And then we'll add Wednesday, Thursday, add a list Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the final list we're going to make is complete. You're going to start off by adding your projects and tasks in for the month. Typically, I end every month with like a monthly review in which I look back at the past month as well as plan the month ahead. And this is where this board comes in handy. That's where the tasks and projects come from that I'm going to be putting into the month to do list. You can break this list into weeks as well, and that's one thing I do on my main board, but let's add a few tasks just to start. You could type finish website outline, send website outline to web designer. From there, you'd want to get a quote from the web designer, so get quote from web designer. And we'll drag that into the waiting on list. Then you could put pay web designer invoice. So if you want to launch a website, those would be the tasks that are associated with it. Again, we reverse engineered it. Each day you could add tasks in as well. So for Monday, I could put task 1, and then task 2, and then task 3. And then for Thursday, I have a big meeting. So on Thursday, I'll put project meeting. But before that, I have to put together a pitch deck. So on Wednesday, I'll put finalize pitch deck for project meeting. And you can add cards in as you go. Now, if there's something you do that's the same each day, you can go in and make a template for that. Let's say you run a company and you're in charge of social media. You might have a daily routine that you have to do. Let's say you have a few tasks that must be done daily, like 1, answer DMs, 2, find 3 new leads, 3, you have to answer all comments in the comment section, 4, you have to engage with 5 other top creators in your niche. And we want to create this card into a template because, again, we're going to reuse it every day, so you can just click on Make a Template button. Now we have our first template made for the business. Now let's talk about the personal side. Or if you're working on your health and you might have a daily routine that you do, it could be a morning routine, so you could put health routine. Under that, for the checklist, you could put workout. From there, you could put 20 minutes of physical activity, like if you go walking throughout the day. Eat 3 meals plus a healthy snack. And finally, drink 8 glasses of water. Once those are in your card, then you can make it a template again by clicking Make a Template. And from there, you can just create the card over and over to make sure that it's done each day of the week. After making templates for your personal and professional life, you can start building routines and increasing your productivity. The goal here is the same as other boards. The goal is once all items on the card are checked off, you drag them over to the complete list. Now, if for some reason you get behind on one day, you can always drag a task to another day, just like this. That's where the flexibility I was talking about comes into play. You're able to move things around effortlessly so your schedule is still optimized no matter how crazy your week gets. Beyond what we just did, you can also add due dates, power-ups, and automations to this board to really streamline your weekly and monthly planning. The next board we're going to create is the project board, and this can be used for any big project you're currently working on or plan to do in the near future. Projects are really going to vary due to a ton of different factors, and projects between industries and individuals can really vary. So just take the ideas from this board and adapt it into your own business. We're going to start out by making a few lists just like we did in the other boards. So objectives is the first list. And in any project that you're going to be doing, there's a certain outcome that you're looking for. Objectives and goals is the first list. The second list is ideas. This is where you're going to put your own ideas, or when you collaborate with a team, all the ideas will go into this list. The third list is a to-do list, and this is where the ideas that you've decided to take action on go. From there, the fourth list is in progress, which is where a list of all the items that you're currently working on go. From there, you have a waiting on list, and that's where the things that you're waiting on from others are. Whether it's an approval or a vote on something, or maybe it's a deliverable you're waiting on, they all go in this list. And the last list is complete. Once something is done, complete, finished, again, that's where it goes. Now, each project is going to vary between companies and individuals, and if you have other steps on your workflow or process, you can add those lists in as well. Just remember, within Trello, you can add and remove lists to make sure it's the best fit for your project. The last major feature I'm going to cover today is views, and this is a Trello premium feature, but if you sign up for a free premium trial, you'll have temporary access to these views. You might find it's worth paying for down the line after you've used them a little bit, but I just want to take the time to show you all the views that Trello has to offer. It's a great way to visualize your work. To access views in Trello Premium, you want to click on the Boards drop-down menu, and then you can see the button Start Free Trial. This is going to unlock all of the board views. From there, click Start Free Trial, and you automatically get access to the features. You don't have to enter in any payment information, which is really nice. And now when you go back to the drop-down menu, you can see all of the views have been unlocked. Now at the top of the screen, it will tell you how many days left you have of the free trial. So I have 14 days left until it's time to pay for these extra features. But in the meantime, let's go over these extra views. The most common view is the calendar view. So the calendar view displays all of your work that has a due date on the calendar. The tasker card must have a due date for it to show up on the calendar. If it doesn't, it just won't be there. So let's start off by adding some due dates to the cards on our board. Let's go ahead and add some due dates to the tasks that I previously created. Once all of the due dates are added, you can click on the board dropdown and select Calendar. As you can see, all of the cards with due dates are now displayed on the calendar. Now, if a card just has a due date, it will show up just in that day on the calendar. And if a card has a start date and a due date, it stretches across multiple days. Now, you can click into any of these cards from this view. Let's say you have a start and end date that you want to change on the calendar. You're going to go ahead and click into the card. The menu will pop up. Once that's done, you can exit out and you can see that the date has changed. Now you can also drag cards into other dates or extend it just like this. It will automatically change the dates within the card. I love this view when mapping out content for the month or seeing any travel or events I'm attending. That's one of the many advantages of this view, but ultimately it's just another way to visualize all of your work. The second view I'm going to look at is the timeline view. So go back to the dropdown at the top and click on Timeline. This is very similar to the calendar view, and it has the same logic as it applies to cards with due dates will show up. Any cards without due dates won't show up directly on the timeline. Once this view is open, it will have lists on the left and the cards on the right. And on the left, you can see which list these cards are attached to. You can see what part of the process each task is in with the dates that are running across the top. Now, what about the tasks that are not scheduled? You can view those by clicking on Not Scheduled, and then you can see a list of them pop up of everything on your list that doesn't have a due date associated with it. Now you can click on any of the cards right there and then add a due date in. By adding a due date, it will now be displayed on the timeline view. Now let's say you want to move one card from one list to the other. You can click into the card and select Ideas at the top of the list and then put it into the Researching category, and you can see the card has moved down. This is a great way to visualize and display everything you have going on right now in the organized timeline. You can also move these cards around if you want. You can make them shorter or longer in terms of the dates, and that will automatically update all the data within the card. Now, if you're looking to get more into the analytical side of your work, Trello has a dashboard view, and this is where you can see the analytics of each board. Click on the drop-down and select Dashboard. You can see a few different breakdowns, so we can have cards per list, cards per due date, cards per member, and cards per label. With any data, there's tons of different ways to interpret it and use it. As you hover the cursor over the data, you can see the exact numbers for each category and cards. Now, if you scroll to the bottom, you can also add new data. If you want to do that, first you're going to click on the plus button. From there, you can add a title and select the type of graph that you want. And let's go ahead and add one real quick. I'm going to select pie chart and then hit next. And then I can select a few different options. From there, you can customize the data any way you want. And I can see this view being extremely helpful if you're a project manager or you need some type of analytical feedback. Overall, this view is a lot simpler than the other views. We're just looking to extract some type of data out of the board. And then from there, we can go to the next view. But other than that, there's not a lot to this view. The next view we're going to talk about is the table view. And the table view kind of looks like an Excel sheet, but it more represents something you would see on Asana, Notion, Monday.com, or ClickUp. And this is a very popular view to work with because it's using checklists similar to an Excel looking document. It's something that we're all familiar with. Now with each box, it can be edited, and the title of the card can be just clicked on and edited. The list can be selected and changed as well. If you click on anything under the list category, you'll get a drop down with all of the list options. From there, you can add labels in the labels column. You can also add members in the member column as well. Just click anywhere in the members column and then you'll get a drop down to select the member you want to add. At any time, you can click into the cards as well. With the traditional card menu popping up, you can make an edit and change anything you want. Overall, this is a very simple view. This is one of my favorite views that I operate out of. The last view that Trello offers is the map view, and this view allows you to see the locations of the work on a map. Now you can add specific locations to your card. Let's say you're doing a project and it's taking place in different locations. Maybe you're shooting a YouTube video and you have different shot locations, or you run a business with multiple locations and you want to designate some cards to one location and some cards to another location. This is where this view is useful, and you can do that very easily. So let's say one part of your project is going to happen in New York City, and the other part of the project is going to take place in my hometown, Rochester, New York. You can add those both in. So you can click on the card, click on location, add New York City. You can exit out, click on another card, click on location, type in Rochester, New York. And then you can see locations pop up on the map. So if you go back to the map, you can see both locations are tagged. And this can come into handy for specific use cases with companies, again, with different locations, or maybe things happening all over the country. So if you click on the tags, it will open up the cards as well. And then from there, you can make any edits to the card like usual. And that's the maps views in a nutshell. And that's the last of the views that Trello has to offer. Now that you know how to use the basics of Trello and have some ideas on how to implement it into your business, it's time to get to work. If you found value in this video, hit the like button, and I have a link right here for my entire Trello tutorials playlist for beginners. Watch these videos and you can take your Trello skills to the next level. This is a must watch for any Trello user. Until next time, stay productive.